Hey, it's Stu. It's a beautiful summer day. I've just got back from a kind of beach holiday and I went Little Free Library and Friends of the Library shopping. So this is a haul video and I'll start with the Little Free Libraries. In the place where I was staying, there were plenty of Little Free Libraries. But I didn't find too many things that I really wanted to read in them, which is fine because look at my library, and I think that's part of it now. Like I am less experimental because I have a lot of books to read that I can be experimental about, and also I read a lot of books. So the first one I found was What We Were Promised by Lucy Tan. And I think I remember this being about, I think it's China or Hong Kong. Yeah, it was China. Yeah, this is about immigration and movement, diaspora, the Chinese immigrant diaspora, maybe movement back and forth from San Francisco, I think, to China. There might be some repatriation in this. In any case, this is, I believe it's contemporary, but it could have some historical in it, and it was published in 2019. So the next book is The Covenant of Water by Abraham, I think it's Verghese. Is it Verghese? I saw this book several times at the Friends of the Library, my local, and passed it up just because of its length. I felt compelled because I did a lot of beach lanai and or outdoor coffee shop patio reading while I was gone, and I read almost exclusively physical books, all of which I've given away. That's why we're not going to get a review video because they're gone. But I felt somewhat inspired to endeavor into a bigger book. So now that I brought this all the way back in my carry-on, I am wondering if this would be the one that I start with, as it's an epic. I kind of planned on starting it there and seeing if it was something I really wanted to read. And I didn't do that. So it came back with me. I think that I think maybe Demon Copperhead is the big book that I'm going to grab before this one, but we'll see. Maybe that's too much information. The Other Black Girl by Zakiya D'Elia Harris. This is an ARC edition, and it's not in super great shape, but that's okay. I like bunged up books too. I really like the font in this. This felt like a book that I wanted to read, and again, I kind of was hoping to get to it before I left there, but I didn't. So I brought it back. I'm gonna put this sort of on my summer reading pile. However, as I've said in former videos, I really just kind of plan on mood reading this summer. On my beach holiday, it didn't really go like that because I brought 9 books with me, and those were the ones that I was pretty determined to read in whatever order I felt like reading. I did also do some listening and some digital, which felt a bit more moody. But now I have all of these are unread books. And so I just kind of want to finish a book and then peruse my shelves as if for the first time and pick something that feels like the mood, whatever mood I'm in. So I say that with trepidation, that I don't want to make too many, like this is on my summer reading pile, because then that's really a TBR, isn't it? And I'm trying to just experiment a little bit more this summer with reading as much or as little, and the content that I really want, soft DNFing, binge reading, whatever just kind of feels right, not having a whole lot of agenda. And then in the fall, because of Booker season, I'll come back to, like, you know, T-bars, etc. Okay, let's start with the Friends of the Library. So I went to several of them, and I just had a really great experience at all of them. I love Friends of the Libraries bookstores. If you don't go to Friends of the Library bookstores, you should. They're run by volunteers. Usually the money raised by the Friends of the Library runs the programming, like the after school, the workshops, programming at libraries. So they do good work, and normally the volunteers in there are more than happy to talk about books and with you, as are the people visiting the Friends of the Library when you're there. So one really exciting find, let me find it, is this one. This is Jane Gardam's Last Friends, and it is the last book of the Old Filth trilogy. And this year, 2026, I said I was going to start reading trilogies. So I had the first two books and I started, and then I said, okay, maybe I'll just find the digital copy, no problem with that, from a library, and read it that way, or not. And then just lots of books got in the way. So I have yet to finish any trilogies or quartets or book series this year, but I have started quite a few. And here, let this be the first one to finish. Again, I feel kind of compelled to say I'm going to put this on summer reading, because I kind of feel excited about finishing that trilogy before I forget too much about the characters and what was going on in the first two. But all the things I said just before I said that are still true. Also by Jane Gardam, I found God on the Rocks. I liked this author, although I've only read the two books of the trilogy. I have a couple other books from her, and I have a Europa Editions collection, and kind of my general rule in thrift, if I find Europa Edition, I just grab it because it's a couple of bucks. The last Europa Edition that I found at a Friends of the Library was Maurizio De Giovanni's Darkness. This is like number 8 in a really long series, and I think that one of the 52 book club's prompts is to read a book of a very long series, one of the books in it, and this, I can't remember how many, but this is one of a long series, and maybe this is the book that I'll read. I've lost some stamina. I've almost finished the 52 book club and then just kind of lost a little bit of stamina on it because there was a couple of prompts I thought maybe weren't for me. In any case, this is World Noir, and I actually, again, I feel like this would be a great summer read. But if in case I don't get to it, it does go on my Europa Editions collection shelf. It's not very big, but there are plenty of books on it now. Speaking of kind of collector's books, I only have one other book that it's a Fitzcarraldo edition, and that is Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead. And so I'm going to keep that book with the authors, the books of this by Olga Tokarczuk. But I was excited to find this Fitzcarraldo edition. This is One Boat, and this is by Jonathan Buckley, and I believe this was short or long listed for the Booker last year, 2025. So this is also a very nice edition, recent book for $3 that I found at a Friends of the Library. I can see myself reading this. It will probably be on my Booker TBR, but I think that I'm going to need the assist of a digital copy because this goes right into, the lady at the Friends of the Library called it the gutter. This goes right into the gutter, so it creates shadows, and this font is just not really good for physical reading. Okay, so Anne Tyler's The Accidental Tourist. This is a little bit older. I think Anne Tyler won a Pulitzer. I think this was a finalist, but not the winner. And then there was another book for which she won the Pulitzer. Is this book from the 80s? Maybe. I don't know. Kind of feels like a summer read too, but I did haul it in the summer. And this is one of those books that'll go in what I call my stacks. And there's just stacks of vertical paperbacks here and in various places of books and authors that I'm excited for, but aren't really like parts of series or really beloved authors. So it'll end up in the stacks if I don't read it. Likewise, I have another book by Arturo Pérez Reverte that's a little bit bigger than this book. This is a historical mystery. It's a historical mystery. Again, it just kind of felt like a fun summer read that's, you know, maybe not too frilly, not too popcorny, because there's a little historical elements to this and some decent prose, but also fun. So I guess I'll add it to the stacks in consideration for summer reading. Most of these paperbacks that you're seeing cost like 50 cents. So there's that. No One's Coming to Save Us by Stephanie Powell Watts. I think I got the audio of this thinking that I might actually do a hybrid while I was there. For whatever reason, I don't know how ultimately I make the hybrid choices. Sometimes I just listen to the sample of the audio and make sure that I like the narrator and then kind of go from there. So I think checked out right now. I think this is checked out on my audio. So I also have a lot checked out my audio with plans to just mood read. So I guess I could get to this. This could be one of my summer reads. If not, then that's okay too. It'll go in the stacks. A Girl is a Half-Formed Theme by Eimear McBride. This is an Irish author, an Irish novel. I do have a little basket of Irish authors where authors like Anne Enright and Louise Kennedy are. So this will join that if I don't get to it this summer. Yeah, that's all I'll say about that. Okay, Chilean Poet by Alejandro Zambra. So this Alejandro Zambra, it lives in Mexico City, which confused me a little when I was reading his bio. I was like, is he Chilean, or what's the reference to this? This font. Yeah, this is going to need a digital assist. But I have seen this book around, and I decided to finally grab it. I think what made me decide that I wasn't going to read it over the summer was this probably won't be a very much physical book. I will probably get this in audio if it exists, and or digital. And this is the first book that I can say from this haul that I think I'll read this in October. Latin Heritage Month. It feels good. This is translated, by the way, by Megan McDowell. I didn't say many of these books have, several of these books are books in translation and have translators. And if it wasn't on the cover, I did a very bad job of saying who the translators were. I think Alejandro Zambra, I looked him up a little, and he was a poet. So I don't know if this is like a little bit of auto fiction. This is about, I mean, I do like cats on the cover. So there's that. So just a little tidbit as we are 13 minutes into this video. I don't like to read too much of the synopsis of almost any book. I kind of just like to go in blind and let it like be quite emergent for me. So how do I pick books? You know, I know the author, somebody gave a recommendation. I like to cover all of the things, and then I go from there. Finally, another book that I thought that I would get to before I left, because this is a hardback, is Frederick Bachman's Britt Marie Was Here. I read last year, My Grandmother Told Me to Tell You She's Sorry, and Britt Marie was one of the characters in that book whom I really liked. And so I think this is a spin-off of that character. She's not a very likable character, but I liked her. And so I thought this would be a fun, like, Lanai read. And last summer, actually, I listened to my first ever Frederick Bachman book was A Man Called Ove. And it, you know, did the things that Frederick Bachman can do, which is bring you to tears, make you laugh. There's a lot. I have a very emotional experience when reading Bachman. I've since read several Bachman books. I've started the Beartown trilogy and have book 1 and book 3, but don't have book 2. So I was going to just do it digital, and then it expired. I checked it out and it expired. I just bumped it for other reading, as I think we all do. So Beartown doesn't really feel like summer reading, that trilogy, as it's cold and northern and hockey based, but this one could. What do I have by Bachman? He's right up here. I have My Friends. I have My Friends as well that wants reading. So something tells me I'm going to get to a Bachman this summer. In fact, I don't have any more space around him on my shelf. So that, here I am all hyping up being a mood reader without having to redo the whole shelf. I probably will pull something off. I'll make a decision which Bachman I'm going to read so that they all fit, and then put it on my TBR shelf as if I'm not creating a TBR because I'm just mood reading this summer. But, the games we all play as readers. Okay, so that was my haul. I'm feeling pretty good about it. I think there's a good variety of publication dates, of books in translation, of types of novels, and the representation in them here. And I think that's pretty spectacular. To say that I paid maximum $3 to 50 cents for those that I paid for, and the rest were, exchanged at a little free libraries. So feeling pretty good about this stack. If that were just my summer reading, I would feel pretty good, but alas, I have all this too. So I will try to do maybe shorter catch-up videos in the summer, maybe. By that I mean reading, weekly reviews or reading reviews, so that I don't lose track of my reading. But it also, because I'm going to be trying to be mood reading and picking up and putting down things as I feel like it, that could feel like more of a chore. So we might just get, like when I traveled last summer, an end of summer kind of, survey of all of, or inventory is what I mean to say, of all the books I read. And then I'll hop back in the fall with my TBRs, etc. Have a fantastic summer. I hope that whatever brings you joy, you do. And if reading brings you joy, you do plenty of that too.